Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 610. I'm your Joe Dix, joined, as always, by Matt Zoner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. It's the website you can go to see everything that we do and make and put out, including this podcast and the list that this podcast will end up on. That list is where we rank and review video games like this week's game, Brain Age. Train your brain in minutes a day. Matt, what's your favorite brain teaser of all time?
I immediately went to Sudoku. I don't
Me
know.
too.
I don't know. That's
So,
a brain teaser.
correct answer.
It's more of a
I
puzzle,
would
but
call it. Yeah, it's like a brain puzzle teaser guy kind of thing, so, I suppose.
honorable mention to Picross as well.
Man, Picross rules. I still have not completed the Sega Genesis Master System one that's on Switch. And I think I'm literally in the last 3 puzzles of the main puzzles before I move into Mega Picross. But that one's great when I'm like in between things and I don't know what I want to play next. I just fire that up, do a little bit of Picross. It's solid. Got Mario's Picross in my Game Boy at most times. You never know when you're gonna need it.
I always poke at that Konami
Konami
one.
one, that Konami one's so good. Like, that was the first sign of hope that Konami didn't suck. Remember, it was like, man, Konami sucks. And then that thing came out of nowhere and it was like, do you guys not suck anymore? Still suck because they haven't put out a new Castlevania game, but they're sucking less because we have had several Castlevania compilations. So, and we'll see how that Metal Gear goes for you in a couple months. We're pretty much there, right?
Yeah, be
3
here
months
soon
out.
enough. Yeah, we'll see if I
Yeah.
get that day one.
Yeah, the rest of this year's weird. We got a podcast
Don't know
coming up
what to
next month.
do. GTA 6 isn't coming this year. Who could have guessed
What am I
that?
going to play? Yeah. Are you bummed about GTA 6 getting delayed?
No. I will say the
yeah,
trailer looks impressive, and if what they said is true,
Yeah.
where it's all an engine, that is seriously impressive. But
Yeah.
no, I don't. It'll come when it it'll come.
Yeah. I was like, the further we've gotten away from GTA 5, the more I'm like, I'm 36 almost. I don't need to play this. But, like, not in like a condescending way or whatever, but I'm just like, I know what it is. I get it. But yeah, that trailer was like, cool. But yeah, it's still GTA. Brain Age is not GTA at all.
No.
I don't think.
No. I'll vote no.
Fair enough. Brain Age, train your brain in minutes a day. Developed by Nintendo SPD, that's the Software Planning and Development Division. Published by Nintendo, released on the Nintendo DS, first in the US on April 16th, 2006, but in Japan on May 19th, 2005, which means you're hearing this on the 20th anniversary of Brain Age. Train your brain in minutes a day. It's really, really hard to say that whole thing all together. I just realized that my box art looks different than the launch box art. Mine has this special little touch generations. This must be like a Rev 001 or something. Doesn't say. I don't know. But back of the box reads, train that brain. Exercise is the key to good health, both for body and mind. And now there's finally a way to make mental exercise simple and fun. Inspired by the work of prominent Japanese neuroscientist Dr. Ryuta Kawashima, this software features activities designed to help stimulate your brain and give it the workout it needs. Using it for just a few minutes each day can make your brain feel fresh and sharp. We've got a little guide here that says Dr. Kawashima is your brain age guide, taking you through every step of the exercises and touch-based controls and over 15 fun activities, including the Matt Sellner Joe Dick's favorite Sudoku. Make training your brain a snap. Brain age. We're going to dive into it. Got a lot to unpack with this one. So I added this to the list, and we always kick off these episodes with why did we add it to the list? And I think I'd have to go back and consult my notes, but I believe my reason for this one was really like, as I stepped into this year thinking like, what can a game be, was sort of my like thesis for the season, is like, what are games? What can a game be? What can games do for us? And really once I looked at this is sort of like synergistic with Animal Crossing, because the idea with Animal Crossing being this like thing that you dive into, you play for a little bit here and there, you check in with your village, your friends, your whatever. Brain Age just kept coming up mentally for me, where I was like, that's like a good, you know what I mean? Like another one of those, like I made us do Ring Fit last year and that was kind of a bad idea, but like another thing to sort of check in with. I was going to go Wii Fit, but I figured let me rein it back in. No, at Brain Age, I never thought Wii Fit. I didn't put that on the table, but Brain Age immediately came to mind because it's, I think, such a novel idea. And we don't have a ton of DS representation on the list, so I wanted that too. Like that was another factor. Do we have any DS representation on the list outside of? I feel like we just talked about this in the podcast too.
We did.
Now that I'm
We
saying it
we
out loud.
truly
Okay.
just did. 666.
Right. Wait, you mean 999?
999.
Okay.
Dudes on the mind, I guess. Sorry.
I get it. I get it. No, I was like, wait, you mean episode 666? Oh wait, we haven't gotten to that one yet.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
you're
one
right.
with
You're
the
right.
9 doors and the 9 persons and 9. I forget
Yeah,
the other
yeah,
one.
yeah. Masks. I don't remember. 9 persons, 9 doors, 9 days, 9 hours, something like that. 9 Kawashimas. Uh, so yeah, I was just sort of like, it seems like a fun one, and I like, again, like sometimes we put games in the list that end up being a little bit more like to bite off than we can chew, and I feel like Brain Age is one of those games where looking at it from a list or a game and time management perspective, Brain Age was very achievable because it's something that we both could start back in November when we announced the games to one another and just sort of play it casually here and there, check in, check out, who cares, and be able to come into the episode uh, with a lot to say without needing to grind or like, fight save systems or outdated hardware or any of that fun stuff. So that's why I nominated it for the list. What did you think of when you saw Brain Age get added to the list?
I was excited. I like this kind of stuff. It usually doesn't stick. Like it has like a short tail to it for me. Like I'm in it and I just something happens. I stop playing stuff like this after a couple weeks or whatever. But no, I was happy to try this again. I had never played Brain Age. I think I had one of the Big Brain Academies on
Yeah,
Wii. Don't remember exactly which one, but one of them.
yeah.
And I played through it. But same thing, like we got it. I played it for a couple weeks, and I just fell off sharply and never really stayed up my progress.
Oh, you said you usually fall off of these things. Was that different this time around with Brain Age?
Mm,
I,
no. No, but I think that's more because I think I've learned something about myself. I fucking hate
yeah.
physical media. I fucking hate taking a cart out to put
Oh,
in another cart, and you got me a cart not too long after my birthday
yeah.
that kind of just took
Oh,
over,
yeah.
and I really dropped off on the Brain Age until
Huh.
quite recently. But yeah, no, I really hated that. But no,
It,
I don't think this would have. I don't think I would have stayed with this like terribly much longer, to be just completely honest, because I
Yeah.
was already. But when I started it, my days at work were different. They were starting to switch, and that switch, I was already failing to keep up with the day to day, and then it just
Yeah.
fell apart.
Yeah, my approach for this one, like I bought this years ago and I just sort of I remember like playing it on and off a bit. I think I had the same experience this time. Like knowing we were coming into this episode to play this game, I was like, let me dive in. I don't remember the last. I think I have the note of when I started it. I started on January 8th, right? And I kept going pretty consistently, and then usually what I would do is like in the morning, like over coffee, I would do my brain age check, and then I would dive into a little bit of the training, and then I would do a one Sudoku puzzle while I sat there and had coffee. And then that started to shift like you, like just once something changes about routine or whatever, it's like, well, I don't have time for this, so I'll move it to this. And then it got to be like, okay, well, at lunch, I'll sit and do one Sudoku. That'll be the Sudoku time. And even that like didn't stick. And then sometimes like the worst I found is trying to do the brain age check like right before bed. You should do it in the morning only because right before bed, while everybody's winding down and you're sitting there going blue, yellow, black,
Yes.
red, black, blue, doesn't really work. Um, yeah, it that's the way it goes. What does brain age make you think of?
I think of I don't know. It's almost being healthy, but it's not in a traditional way. That's the
Elaborate on that.
that's I don't know. Like it's just the branding that's all over this game. By the time I mean your packaging has it where it's like
Yeah,
boost your brain, but like when you open it, the digital version of Mr. Kawashima invites you and talks about the science of doing this, and then like right away it's like, well, let's do a brain age check, and then it's about like the whole premise of this game is to get that brain age I say that in quotes now, down to as young as you can get it.
yeah. Which is based on. I'm glad you brought up Kawashima. So it's Dr. Kawashima had a book that was released and very popular in Japan that talked about your brain health, but also gave you these little like brain teasers in the back of it. They were like I don't know, like just little I think similar. I didn't actually like look at the book, but I think they're similar to what you end up doing in this. He had train your brain calculation drills for adults, 60 days of simple calculation. And then a second book, train your brain reading aloud drills for adults, 60 days of reading famous works aloud and taking kanji dictation. Um, these were published in November of 2003. So this was a project born out of obviously Nintendo for, and this kind of comes around like when I think of Brain Age, I think of the DS, period. But I think of the DS like in that broad sense, where the DS was, I know the Wii obviously went to that like blue ocean marketing, but the DS was the start of it, where it just kind of like blew up and went in every direction. So I think of Brain Age, I think of New Super Mario Brothers, but I also think of Nintendogs, and I think of moms with DSs. I think of the fact that when my niece and nephew had a DS, my sister also had a DS, right? Which like my sister hadn't touched a video game since I was 3 and had the NES. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
totally totally changed everything. Um in terms of like who was playing games at that time. And so in development of the DS, Iwata and team were looking for something that could grab that wider audience. And they'd thought of Kawashima's book series and just sort of set up a thing to say they set up a meeting with him. Apparently, it was very difficult. This is all from Iwata Asks, by the way, the gift that keeps on giving. But he they set up a meeting to try and discuss, is there a way we could collaborate on some sort of game product. Kawashima didn't think it made any sense that Nintendo, the video game people, would be contacting him at all. So after some finagling, they managed to get 30 minutes on the books, which immediately upon meeting Iwata, the two of them spent over 2 hours together. Um, and they started to kind of quickly understand how to translate his work into a book. And then he became, an integral part of, obviously, like he's the face that you talk to every time you jump into the game. He's not on the front cover, which I have to look up. I didn't look at the Japanese box art. I wonder if he's on the Japanese one because it'd be more recognizable for the book, but um he is on the back. So there's that. Um but that is like what I think of is like that era of Brain Age, that era of the DS, and that just sort of like branching out of Nintendo and the industry, I guess, at large. Um, I'm not seeing on the Japanese version
I'm
that
not
he's on
either.
it
That would be
necessarily.
also very scary to put under front cover.
Yeah, it's not like a flattering or cute
just this,
character to have
just this
there.
man stamped up there, brain age.
Yeah, he's like a little intense. Like the eyebrows are very thick, very menacing. Yeah. In a different life, do you think you would carry a DS and Brain Age around with you everywhere you go?
I could see me having brain age and a DS around with me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, why not?
I wish I had. Maybe I did. I don't remember. I had on my old DS Lite. I don't think I ever had this on DS Lite. I had something like it, but I don't think I ever got it. This was like I remember I bought my DS Lite for New Super Mario Brothers and for Drawn to Life, the one where you would draw your character, yeah, that whole thing. Um, and I think later Scribblenauts was another one that I was like not happy, or I didn't buy it for the DS or buy the DS for it, but knowing it was there, I was thrilled that I had a DS to play it. But Brain Age was another one where I was like, that's just a weird concept. And I was way into Sudoku at that point because when this came out, I would have been like 16, 17. And Sudoku was sweeping the nation, books on newsstands, et cetera, et cetera. Let's dive into the game itself and the main game modes. So when you boot up the game, well, like Matt said, you kind of do your introduction to Kawashima, and then he kind of kicks you off right away with a brain age check, right? It's the onboarding experience. Well, you draw your name first with the stylus, um, and then you're thrown into your brain age check. And the brain age check becomes sort of the thing you do each day, but it's not the thing you do to get a stamp, which was weird to me. Did you find that weird too?
So I never did the brain. So I think I took an opposite approach to you. I did the brain age check as like a once every few days kind of thing, and
Okay.
then was just like, oh well, checking in, playing a game, like doing an activity to help, like the practice
I see.
was like the
Okay.
stamp, the stamp of approval, like you did your work for the day, kind of thing.
Got it. Got it. No, that's probably the right way to do it. The brain age check, making it like a less frequent thing. I came at it from the Wii Fit approach of like the Wii Fit would always have you like step on the board and you do your like fitness check or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like just to sort of see where you're at. And then you would get into, okay, well, based on how much you weigh this week versus last week,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna give you this rollout. So I always approached it like that. But I think the fact that there are two solutions, I think just is more credit to this game because you can kind of approach it how you want to. Um, the there's some overlap between the puzzles you do for brain age check and training, but they're not all the same. So let's jump through what they are. Because this is the whole game, I guess. You're doing these puzzles, and you can do them for as little as long or as long as you'd like. The brain age check gives you this sort of range of how old you are based on your response time to these. The lowest brain age is 20. Is there a highest?
Ooh, I do not know.
I don't know that I'd ever
Worst
seen
is
one.
80. I see right here.
Worse is 80. Okay, cool. Do you remember your first brain age?
I made note of it, and my note is correct because it didn't like explicitly say first. So my first brain age was 38, but I have in parentheses no reading because
No reading.
I was in a noisy
Oh, so
environment.
you
I was in a noisy
got it.
environment, and then the
So I
next,
did.
okay,
Oh, you go
I
ahead.
was gonna say
No, what
the
was the
next
next?
day when I included reading, I had got a brain age of 31.
Okay. My first one was 48, but I have a note here that my alarm went off during the color test
Ah,
and threw off my answers. So I had noise in the background. Um, because I was also aggressively trying to use voice command to turn off the alarm. So it was
a
bad
litany
timing.
of errors there.
Yeah. But then on my third morning, I don't have what I hit on the second. On my third morning, I hit 20. So I
Ah,
felt good about that. Yes. Um, so your brain age check. There's what we just talked about. Let's jump into that one. The Stroop test. How much do you like the Stroop test?
it was it was mind bending. Like it's one of those like, can you tap your head while rubbing your stomach at the same time kind of things.
Yeah,
Which
the Stroop test.
this
Yeah,
game, I mean, that's pretty much the crux of a lot of these mini games. Is like not only are you doing one thing, but there's that extra level to it to kind of stress your brain out a little bit. And that same Awada ask that you refer to, Kawashima talks about, the mini games where like doing it on the DS exercise that I forget what front, I think the frontal part of your
which
brain.
cortex?
Yeah,
Yeah,
more than just doing the activities like in your head or something like that. Which was interesting. In that. But yeah, no, you're going to see a theme with a lot of these where it's like, not only are you doing
yes.
this, but you have to think of this while keeping track of something, or whatever. But yeah, no, the Stroop test.
You, the game displays four colors, one of four colors at a time: black, blue, yellow, and red. Sorry, four words, but the words are black, blue, yellow, and red, and they are at various colors, and they're one of those four colors as well. But like yellow is not always yellow, red's not always red. Your responsibility as the player is to read the color of the word, not the word
Word.
itself. Which sounds like duh, but when you're like doing it quickly and it's the word black, but it's written in blue, your brain wants to scream black because you're reading black, but it's blue. Um, that is the one puzzle, I think, that I had the hardest time with consistency. Specifically with blue. I feel like it would not always pick up on me saying blue. And I don't know if that's because I mumble. I don't know. I don't know. But like I had to like more often than not, if I missed one, it's because I was saying blue. And I don't know what it thought I was saying. I don't know if it thought I said black or what. Did you have an okay time with Stroop Test? Did you have weirdness with the microphone?
I don't remember. I don't remember anything crazy. I don't have any notes here either. I'm sure I ran into some of the stuff that you did. I ran into more of that stuff writing. But we'll get there when we talk about that.
Yeah, those are coming up. The next one up is speed counting, which you speak, but it's not actually listening for your voice. The idea with this one is just how fast can you count from 1 to 120. The idea is that you're out loud pronouncing each word or each number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Like, but even right there, I
Yeah.
technically Yeah, right. Because I'm kind of slurring the two together. Um, there's that, and you're just basically just like start that test and then stop that test once you read or say all the numbers aloud. This next one might be my favorite, even though I'm not the best at it. It's word memory. So you're given a list of 4 letter words. It's 34 letter words split into, I guess, is it 4 columns? Because it's left side of the DS, right side of the
Yeah,
DS.
yeah.
You get 2 minutes to study that list and memorize as many as you can. And as soon as the 2 minutes is up, you then have 3 minutes to write them down. And then any ones you write down and remember count towards points. And obviously, if you don't, you don't. Did you have trouble with this one and writing? Was
Uh,
this the
oh no, not this one in writing. I was just awful at this one. Like as much as I stared at that list, I just as soon as that list was taken away from me, it was like I can't I can't think of one word. There was
so
30.
you never came up with any like because I started coming up with techniques to memorize. Did you try any
I
of
think I
that?
only did this one once or twice. So, I'm sure I would have eventually come up with something, but yeah, no, just like in the moment, like I'm looking, and it's just blank. Just as
If
soon
you
as it.
go no, if you go back to it, I recommend like giving yourself little phrases. That was how I remembered it, where I would just be like nuns kill rock or like and but I think like visualizing as well really helped because it would just be like I don't know, baby tree hand foot or something. And I just picture like a tree with a baby's face and hands and feet. And like, then I'd get that. And then when I'd come back, I'd just picture those things in my head where I'd have like, if I could, the more words I could combine into some weird, messed up image in my brain, the easier it was on the other side of the timer to be like, okay, what was the tree picture? The tree picture had like a baby's head and like, and like, then write them all down. That worked really well for me. Um, but even that, like, I'd get to the end and I'm like, and the timer would go off. Like, usually I'd spend my first minute and a half of that 3 minutes, like, got it, got it, got it, got it. And I'm like, I don't know what's left. And then I get to the end, it was like, soap cats. Forgot soap cats. Like, I completely botched it. I had the picture in my head too, it just vanished. So, yeah, that one's a fun one. Next up is Connect Maze. So you're given a bunch of randomized circled uh, letters and numbers. And you need to draw a line from A to 1 to B to 2 to C to 3 to D to 4 to like all that. And you got to go kind of all around the DS until you get all the way up through, I think, M13.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that one's fun. Any thoughts on that one? Who cares? That one's
I thought
a fun one, but
I think the first time I did this one, I thought you couldn't touch lines again. I thought you had to be like all
oh
continuous
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
intersecting, and that threw me off the first test. Looking, doing that one.
And that'll raise your time a lot,
Yeah.
probably. Calculations times 20 is another one that comes up in the brain age check. And this is just simple calculations that are either addition, subtraction, or multiplication. Um, and then basically on the I'm saying left, but it's actually the top screen of the DS. But when you're playing the game, you rotate the DS vertically. So on the left screen, you've got just sort of this list of calculations that climb as you complete them. And on the right side, you're just jotting down the results. Um, and it's not, I mean, yes, 9 times 0, 4 times 0, 4 times 9, like, or 4 plus 9. And it just, they try to do a couple where like, or maybe they don't try, maybe they're all truly random, but sometimes it just kind of ends up being that way. But I found that like sometimes I'd be doing it and it's like, okay, a lot of these answers are 6, but it's the way we're getting to 6 is different. It's like keeping your brain fresh. And the last one for brain age check is number cruncher. So this one will like throw a bunch of numbers on the screen, but it'll say how many of these are blue. And like that kind of thing, or how many sixes are there? But the sixes and the nines are all spinning, so you have to be like, is that a six or it's a six? It's a six. No, it's a nine. Yeah. And same deal. You're just kind of writing uh, the answer on the right hand side of the screen. So that's brain age check. Any of those? Did you have a favorite, least favorite?
Um, big. I like the maze one once I kind of realized like I could do whatever with that, and then I don't know, I'm a sucker for like the arithmetic
Yeah, oh yeah, that one's so. I would just do the calculations
times
times
100.
100.
Yep. So
Just sit down and do that
that
for
would be
fun.
the one that would screw me up because like I might make a six too fat and it might be a zero. I forget. I
Yeah,
think my eights were taken weirdly sometimes. Um,
yeah.
and I would get like a wrong answer. I'd be like, well, what the fuck? That's a
I think this game, the first time around with me playing it, is what made me start doing twos with a loop. I haven't done twos with a loop since I was a kid. And then playing this game, doing it that way, I would get it wrong so many times, like just the hard edge two, that I was like, I gotta loop it.
I
And now
had
that's how I've been writing my
I
twos
had
for
a
like a decade.
teacher in high school. I think it was my freshman year that like I never looped twos, but I think he took off like little dumb half or tenths of points if he did loopy twos because he screamed that it looked like eights.
I could see it, I guess. Yeah, now that you're saying that, I feel like I had a teacher that was also very strict about that. I
But
feel like that's what got me away from it too.
that's why. So with me so much in math and algebra, that's why whenever you see me write out a Z, I always put a line through the middle of it because
Oh yeah,
I
I
can't.
do that with sevens too, because
Never
like,
did that with sevens, but no Z's all the time.
yeah, that's funny. All these little, all these little things that keep they come back to you the more you dive into your brain and memories of it. Um, so that's brain age check. You jump in, you do those. They're quick, and it's you're not going through all of those at a time. The brain age check is
Three or
three,
four.
maybe. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Um, it does ask you right at the top if you're in a quiet area where you can speak, and if you say yes, you will always start with the Stroop test. So if you hate the Stroop test, just say you're not in a quiet area, and you'll be fine. Um, then training. So training is like Matt said, you kind of like jump in and do these training programs uh, to just help keep your brain sharp. As long as you do one of these, then Kawashima gives you a stamp, which you then tap the date on the calendar, and then after a while you can look at your calendar and you can see um, the like number of stamps you've done. And then the thing with stamps is the more you collect, the more you unlock. So this is how you unlock additional training programs. This is how you do what else do you get? Difficulty modes on some of these
Mm-hmm.
because the calculations has a hard mode. Something else has a hard mode. I forget. A couple of these have
Head
hard
count
modes though.
has a hard
Head,
mode.
yeah, yes. Um, Triangle math, I think, has one.
Hmm.
We'll dive into each of those in a sec too. Um, you also get the ability at some point to customize your own stamp. Did you do that at all?
No, I never bothered to, but I did see the option.
I ended up drawing mine because the default one is just like okay, and it
Yeah,
just
the
stamps okay.
green, I think.
Yeah. I drew a little bat symbol in a circle. So I've got a nice little Batman stamp. And the cool thing is when you change your stamp, it does it retroactively. So whatever stamps you've already done, it goes back and does it makes it whatever your new stamp is. All right, so there's 9 training programs in training mode. You've got calculations times 20 and calculations times 100. Same thing as we just talked about with brain age check, except um, the 100 mode is 5 times as many, but also there's a hard mode for that that adds division in addition to addition, subtraction, and multiplication. There's reading aloud, which you get an excerpt from like public domain books. Like, what did I have a bunch of?
It's
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I had a bunch of.
oh yeah, it does have Jekyll and Hyde. Huh. Oh, in Wikipedia it just says. Oh no, it says such as. Never mind. Never mind. There's more than just the two they
Oh,
had. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow or Little Women are also different possibilities as well.
do you remember which ones you were
I
getting or
remember now
wanted?
as you said Jekyll and Hyde. I remember seeing that one a few times. I feel like
Yeah,
I saw Sleepy Hollow at least once.
I think so too.
I didn't do this one a lot though.
No, this one I didn't. I didn't go back to. It's just weird. Well, for me, like the ones where it's just sort of left up to you to determine your fate, I felt like they weren't. I don't like this one and the what was the one in Brain Age Check? The speed counting. Just like I felt like they weren't really doing much for me. But reading aloud, I know, I understand the science. The idea is that you get this excerpt, you need to just read it aloud, and then hit next until you reach the end, and then you hit end once you've read the section, and you're rewarded. And that's we should back up actually because I forgot to call that out. Everything you do, whether it's the training or the brain age check, they're all you're rewarded with a not rewarded, but you're graded with a time. So uh, you learn how fast you perform, whether that's walking speed, running speed, train speed, jet speed, that kind of thing. Um, Next up, after reading aloud, there's low to high. So it's this one's like there's boxes that have numbers in them, and it'll like show you these things and then sort of cover the box. The numbers slide to like hide themselves, and you have to remember like, okay, was this number higher than that one or lower? Or forget how it's.
No, it's
And that
more
makes
like they
more.
give you a set number of boxes and then they put numbers in those boxes. They flash it to you for 5 seconds. And
Okay,
then you have to tap in order from low to high what the numbers
okay.
were.
I
So, like, when you first start, there's like 4 boxes, and it could be in like a. In a square shape divided into four equal sections, and it would be like a 2, a 3, a 5, and a 7, and you're shown that and
right,
they're in the specific spots and then that disappears and you have to kind of use memorization to remember where like all right the lowest one was here then you go up to 3 then 5 and 7 and you don't have to
right.
remember the number but if you kind of get like a remember like a pattern of like all right go here go here go here go here
Yeah, yeah,
you'll
yeah.
kind of get it and there's not a hard mode but like what happens in that one is like as you get a successful one it adds another box and then you could be flirting with
Right.
like 7 and 8 boxes and if stick around in that zone and if you lose you usually go back down a box if you get it you go up a box and you just kind of live there.
And this one is on a timer, if I remember correctly, right?
I
Or is it just three
don't
strikes you're out? I
it
forget how
might be
the.
three it might be the 3 strikes or
Okay,
like just like the high score at the end is just the amount of like the highest amount of boxes you completed or something like that.
okay, that makes sense. Syllable count is next up. So this one is a bunch of phrases, one after the other, and then you write down how many syllables were there. So it'll just be those short little like whatever, and you have to just count it in your head. Because it kind of shows you disappears, and you have to write how many syllables it was. Head count, which shows like so it's like a little house. I guess it starts with a random number of people. It's like two little like people silhouettes. A house drops on, and then one person walks out, and then two people walk in, and then two people walk out, and then one person walks in, and it does that. And you're just kind of counting how many in, how many out, and then at the end of it, each round it'll say how many are in, and you have to write down five, six, whatever it is. Were you good at that one?
Yeah, I the easy mode part of it, yes, incredibly. The hard one was finally the one where like I started to get stretched a little bit, but no, that was a good one. This one and the last two you've just said head count and syllable count were two of my favorites. I think.
Yeah, they're strong. Chimney. I'm not sorry. Looking the wrong thing. Uh, looking at the hard mode description for head count. Triangle math is the next puzzle. This one is like it's a pyramid. Um, what's the one? The Fibonacci.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not that at all, but that's what I always picture whenever I picture a stack of numbers like that. But it's a triangle of numbers. It's usually two numbers up top, and then am I right about that?
I don't think
Or is
I
it?
unlocked this one because I remember this one. I had to look at the gameplay of it, and I don't know if I saw a hard mode or not.
It's this one's just sort of like numbers will be up top, and then you need to. It'll be like, oh no, it's three numbers. I'm sorry. So it's like 1, 3, and 6. So then the next row down is going to be 4 and 9 because you're adding the two outers,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of keeps going, and you're like doing that as you work your way down. But that gets more complicated because they'll throw subtraction in like for some of them, and I think what you're doing is like I think you're doing totals all together. So it's like
That's what it seemed to be.
they're not
Yeah.
like here's 1, 3, and 6. So then the next it's like 4 and 9. So the answer is 13. That's what it is. And like that one gets tricky because then like the second row will actually be like a subtraction. So you'll have 4 and 9, but it'll actually be 4 - 9. So -5 is the right answer. It's that kind of thing. That one was a fun, like another cool brain teaser. Um, time lapse, I was so bad at. Were you good at time lapse at all?
Another one I didn't really get to, but I
Okay.
think I will love this one. I,
It
I
is
probably would not have
cool,
been
but
good, but I don't know. I could see like some of the times that when they line up right would have been great, but the overlap stuff would have been where I get like thrown off.
it's it's like when it happens so quickly, like because you're on a timer for this one,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just like I'm like, okay, it's 2:45, and the next one is 5:45. Okay, 3 hours. Got it. Three. And then it's just like it moves from 5:45 to 7:15. And you're like, it's 2.5 hours. Nope, it's what? Ah! And you're like, it's gone. Like it's too late. I screwed that one up so often. Um, yeah, tricky, tricky. The final one is voice calculation, which is similar to calculations 20 and 100, but instead of writing it, you're doing like the Stroop test, you know, 0, 6, 6, 6 over and over again, which that,
Just let me rate it.
yeah, better with writing. So there's the training modes. Do you feel like there's enough training programs in training mode for you?
When you start to add in the hard stuff, I would say yes. I don't know what else you would really like add to this. I'm sure there's something out there, but I don't know like in terms because like I don't want more voice stuff, and there's only so much
No,
you can
not
do
at
with
all.
math.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the sequel adds. Um, and they put one out on Switch that I kept threatening to buy, but I never did because they never put it out in America. It only came out in Japan and Europe, and I have a Japanese account, but I just never like went through the process to because you need to get a stylus because you have to, hold the
Mm-hmm.
Switch. So I like never. I bought a stylus for Mario Maker 2, and then I just no. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the Switch 2 will bring one over formally. We talked a bit about Dr. Kawashima, and how he is the face of this because this was based on his book. This has, I mean, obviously there's some science behind his brain teasers and the effect on the brain. I have two sources of conflicting, I don't know, backgrounds or conclusion, I should say, that discuss the effects of this game on your brain, and then I want to hear what you think. Um, So one of these says that the evidence behind claims that the Nintendo DS game is making them smarter and staving off dementia, uh, the evidence is weak. Uh, this one was interesting. These are both from BBC, from like, yeah, the brain training claims dismissed article is from 2009, where the other one we'll talk about in a second is from 2008. But the one in 2009 essentially like breaks down what the game is and what it does and whatever. Um, and there are quotes from doctors who say that playing it has no functional impact on your life. Exercise is important. What is it? Company says exercises important abilities that are known to decline later in life, such as short-term memory. Um, uh, the key takeaway I had from this one is that one doctor said that this did not show any results cognitively that were any stronger than just playing Tetris, for example. So you could play these other things, or you could play this. It didn't matter. Um, they kind of said like, if you enjoy doing it, go for it. It can't hurt you, but don't think that it's going to make your mind in shape. Um, another doctor, uh, and they all kind of say the same thing when you kind of boil it down. Was just sort of like, there's nothing scientific about this that says, you know, it is definitely going to help you, but doing general brain stimulation does help to, you know, improve your cognitive performance. This one from 2008 was very fun, where the short version of it is they tested a bunch of kids at the beginning of a school year and then let them play. It's like 600 kids across 32 schools. They had them play brain training every day on DS, and then they tested them again after whatever, and they'd all improved by 50%. So my first flag is like, okay, well, you're doing this over time as they're in school. So like, are they not learning stuff over that 9 weeks? But at the same time, yeah, I think interesting. And then it says that the time taken to complete their test dropped by 5 minutes. So it was across the country of Scotland. So like it wasn't just like one school, it was 32 schools, 600 kids. So it was like a wide enough test group, but yeah. I don't know. There was this era of that too. I mean, we were like kind of quietly obsessed with trying to be smarter and educate. I feel like we've thrown all that out the window these days. But back then, in that nice period of time where things were looking hopeful, we had this I don't know, bright future ahead of us, driven by the Nintendo DS. What do you think? Do you feel smarter by playing your Nintendo DS?
I don't think I played or I feel smarter. I what I think happens is you like develop just little strategies for all these things, and you just utilize the strategies. Like, and that
Yeah.
goes with any video game, which where you said the perspective of like, oh, this the same amount of brain stimulation that Tetris gives you. You know, that actually I think that makes a lot of sense. Like Tetris, you're constantly thinking. I mean, it depends on how good you are too. Like you could be thinking 3 moves ahead or whatever, but
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
you're you're thinking of the puzzle in front of you in some way. Um, Same with this. I mean, the multiplication tables and stuff in school, they were taught in a memorization fashion. They weren't like yeah, they taught you the idea, but like remembering your multiplication tables like 1 through 10 or in some cases 1 through 12 was like a big deal. And you're just kind of flexing that muscle here with some addition and subtraction. So like I don't know, like you know, the 50% thing, I think they just got really good at the programs and the different tests, and they knew how to adjust. But do I think it hurts to do stuff like this? Absolutely not. I think it's useful to work out the muscle that is your brain in some way that you would your heart with running or other muscles, in various matters. So like,
Yeah,
no
if it's
harm, no
this
foul.
great. If not,
Yeah.
yeah, do something. Yeah, I agree. Uh, this game, before we kind of move into visuals and sound, the controls of this. So we mentioned before, but you hold the DS on its side, and you're primarily using the stylus as your. Actually, that's kind of all you're using
Yeah,
um,
pretty much.
to
Yeah,
interact
pretty
with it.
much.
Whether that's like writing numbers and words in the stylus or just tapping for inputs. There is some microphone input, and then you do have the only other like major thing you kind of do in terms of like interacting with it is zooming in specifically on Sudoku puzzles. So the other modes we didn't cover yet are Sudoku, download, and quick play. Um, Sudoku is simply that. There's just a ton of Sudoku puzzles that you can jump into and play. Um, I don't know how many there actually are. It's got to be like over 100. I'm pretty sure. Um, but you again, they're varying degrees of difficulty, and I had a good time playing Sudoku there. I think it's like a solid way to play Sudoku for sure. Um, quick play lets you jump into either a quick brain age check, quick training, or quick Sudoku. And this is like you don't need to select your profile. So you could just, let a friend or a family member borrow your DS while you're hanging out, and they can just jump in and do a little bit without messing up your score or your brain age or any of that stuff. And then download play was available on this, which is coming back, Matt, on the Switch too. Download play, not for brain age, but for other things. But with this, you and up to 16 people could like quickly compete on I think it says it on the back. It doesn't. It just says 2 to 16 people. But with one copy of the game, up to 16 people could compete on different puzzles in the game in local play, which is cool. Um Besides this, are there any other games that have sort of a daily check-in that you've played and enjoyed?
I mean, there's some that have. I've played stuff that's had it, but none of it ever sticks. For me, and that's just the nature of how I play games. I come in and out of stuff all the time. Even the finest games as a service, I have my phases with. So yeah, I like the answer is yes. I could name as far as like stuff like this. I struggle to think of something on the top of my head, but like other games that encourage that, like a battle pass driven game, I can name a
Yeah.
thousand, but I come
Yeah,
in and
yeah,
out of
yeah.
them all
That's
the time.
different. Yeah. I think for me, the honestly, one of the barriers to this, I might be able to, yeah, I can literally show you. Here's my barrier to brain age in 2025. Is the light coming through
Oh
on the camera?
yeah, I mean yeah, mine's tethered right now.
Yeah, right. Like that's
and,
the
and
problem is
this,
like,
and this,
well, there, yeah, that too.
this, the fact that it's here.
Yeah, I know. I know. But like the fact that I have to keep charging this like so frequently, because the 3DS is just not, I got a battery replacement and everything. Now, I do have, no, it's in the back in a bin. I have a DSi that has stronger battery life, but it doesn't have everything else on it I want to play. You know what I mean? Like the 3DS, I've got stuff downloaded to it
Right.
from the eShop that I want to, yeah. That's that's the bane of it all. Uh let's talk about look and sound real quick before we review and rank this thing. So, uh you feel like the game is generally like, there's a lot of like looking at and understanding and reading, like in terms of just like doing those things quickly. Do you feel like the game translates that stuff to the player well
I
enough?
think to an extent, and this just might be me. I feel like like one run through it, I understand it. Like sometimes the
Yeah.
instructions aren't the most clear because they're
That's
thrown
fair.
at you like at a war in a WarioWare way of like, all right, do this. Here you go. So I
Yeah.
mean, not that it kind of sucks for the brain age tests, if you're really going for that score or whatever. But like, that's why I do them every once in a while. And if did a bad, if I got like something in the 40s as opposed to something in the 30s, I didn't begin to panic that I was becoming dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. No. No.
I
No.
think I was just like, all right, bad round. Or new game, and I hadn't like gotten a strategy, which goes back to what I said just a few minutes ago, or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, so yeah, no, I think sometimes the instructions too simple in a way. Like they make sense when you in hindsight. I think sometimes you just don't get it the first go.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Anything else on the look of it that you want to call out, or anything that stood out to you?
Mr. Kawashima is a character,
Yeah.
borderline scary. That
I,
dumb
which is like weird because he's like
laugh.
so happy. Yeah, I know. It's like it's
um,
charming though.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't know if you want that man on the cover of your game. Not at least not first entry into IP.
Yeah, maybe number two. On sound, this is the first game we've covered on the list in a while where we are required to provide sound input. Do you feel like this one does it well? Do you feel like it does it better than Lifeline?
There's a lot of things that do sound input better than Lifeline. It did fine. It did fine though. I mean, there was I mean, like I said, I didn't make major notes on anything, but I mean, I remember a few slip ups, but I mean that's bound to happen in any of these.
Yeah, I was surprised at how well it picked up certain things for this being 20 years old and on a DS.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
um, let's get ready and rank this. But I'm curious, real quick. Did Kawashima ever mess with you?
I feel like yes, I didn't make notes of any of it, but I feel like I've ever seen dumb stuff.
I have a note from April 2nd where I woke up feeling kind of foggy and I knew I wouldn't have the highest score, but Kawashima hit me with a 75. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, I'm really off today. And then he started laughing and said, I'm just joking, 25. I was like, okay, you got me. We rank every video game we talk about on the podcast on the list, which you can find at thefreecheese.com/the list with links to all the episodes per game. And if you're watching the video version, Matt's got it pulled up on the screen for you to follow along with at home. Um, I've got I've got my placement. Do you have your placement?
I do. How confident are you in your placement? Let me ask that.
So here's the thing.
Do
When
you
I
feel
looked at this, I
good
was like,
about it? I should maybe ask.
I feel pretty good about where I landed.
Okay. Well, I might come. I might come chasing to you because I do not feel confident at all in where I put this thing.
All right, well, my gut reaction was like somewhere in the 9 to 11 range. And I
Okay.
kept like, I was like, man, I don't know, like this, maybe not. Where I landed though, my final answer coming into this episode was 19. I think it's
19.
better than Sonic Frontiers, but I think it's worse than Quake 2.
Okay.
Where did where'd you land?
Oh man. I I'm a little bit further down. By a little bit, I mean a lot further down. I discussed this in my review, and I guess I'll get into it right after I give you the number. I have this as the new 96 between Star Fox and
90.
Gravity Rush.
Whoa. All right, tell me why.
So my thing was like, I always knew playing this was going to be weird because at what point is this a game or a tool?
Sure.
And that's where like I think playing this as a game, it runs out of steam quick, and we kind of alluded to that with like the amount of mini games it has and whatnot. I think for like going for like a brain exercise kind of thing and checking in with it every day with like that in mind, I think is a great, fantastic tool to an extent.
Yeah.
Um, I just as a game, I'm just like I think I'd rather play almost everything on this list, if given the game. But
That's
I
fair.
also see like the game is clever. Like I give it that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the mini games are um most of them are good. Most of them make sense.
Yeah.
Sudoku's decent. There's I didn't play a lot of Sudoku here because I have on my iPad apps that I like the Sudoku the way the boards are handled better. Um,
Yeah.
but like I think like this is your like one your one tool to Sudoku like this or a book. I would recommend this hands all the way over the book. But yeah, no, I obviously though I like when I was like coming down, I was like, this is not probably where this game belongs, and I just don't know where to put it. That this
No, it's
doesn't make
good.
sense. So, um, no, I'll come back up. But like, yeah, that's kind of where my approach is. It's like, at what point is this like as a video game? Do I want to play this all the time? And that's where I think I fall.
I think that's a fair assessment of this, especially when we're considering the list, right? And I think like the core of the list is, do I want to play this more than this? Is really the art of how we've built this thing. Um in some respects. In other respects, it's just nonsense and disasters.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. To me, like, and this was not my reality, so I don't even know if I can live on this, but my thinking with this game is, this is the cartridge that you carry with you, that you play for a couple minutes in the morning, and then you swap carts and you're playing something else, and you move back to DS land, but it's still like a core part of your DS library. And like, yeah, I don't like, I almost feel like it should be something baked into the OS at a certain point with the DS, because it's like so synonymous with
With
it.
something, it's funny because when as you say that, I like think of everything going back to like Destiny 1 with me. The old like
Mm.
it's a core part of my day. Let me clock in. Let me do the
Yeah,
daily. All right, it's done. Let me go play the next thing. Up until the point where he said this should be a core part of the DS, which I actually completely agree with. I think it's like a great tool
yeah,
for like an onboard OS thing. But like I got flashbacks of like, oh shit.
the bad stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I did do this. It's just I did it with other trash.
Well, when when we did our not pitch video, our like, announcement videos for one another internally, just to like show which games we'd be playing this year, I introduced this one with stock footage of an elderly couple sitting at the table, like doing
Mm.
puzzles in the paper. And like, for me, that embodies this entirely, of just that like classic games, teasers, etc., that like are just easy to check in with and whatever. It's like a small collection of those games that has this sort of like lifestyle wrapped around it. And I think that was what really attracted me to this, but also like that whole era of DS and Nintendo stuff, from Wii Fit to eventually Ring Fit and all of that other stuff. But that's the part for me that like makes it a special, like, whatever experience. But
No, no,
yeah,
I
I'm
get
all,
it. I get it. Obviously I'm coming up because I mean even as I like typed 96 into my document, I was like, this is fucking terrible. Again, I don't know where to come up to because again, just the way
no, I know it's a
I'm viewing
weird.
this.
This is a one of those
It's a weird
really
one.
weird
Yeah,
games to rank, because
I
we're both right. You know what I mean?
yeah, no,
Like,
I start to feel comfortable like in the 40s, which kind of puts us at the midway point. But like, I also could see arguments for stuff into the 30s for me personally. Because like I said, I think critically there's some stuff here. It's just the pick up and play.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I'm looking in the 40s to see if there's like a sweet spot, and I don't. Hmm. I like it over Hypnospace. That's the first thing I've seen. It's at 38.
yeah, like it's like right around there where it's like I start to finally see some stuff where I'm like, yeah, that's probably better than that. Like,
Is that an okay spot for it? Below Ape Escape, above Hypnospace?
yeah, because I don't see
Or does
it
that
like
feel.
personally go much higher because I just like then you get into the a big kind of game. I think right in the middle of that's Parasite Eve for both of us. But like there, then you get
Hmm.
like Parasite Eve, Donkey Kong's great, and I just don't see where it fits in going up. Maybe Batman, but I think that's just an underrated game.
Yeah.
Then yeah, coming down like I I don't know, like I'm trying to like look at this direct competitor, which is Ring Fit, which is right here at 43. I gotta like this a little bit better. Um, I don't know if it has like more to it, but I think the package is tighter. If that makes sense.
Yeah. This is much more approachable than Ring Fit. Ring Fit
That's true
requires
too.
a lot.
Yeah,
You know, like
that's
this is, and this is that like lifestyle thing where like I can just slip into this whenever, you know? I could
that's
stop this podcast and go play this right now. Where like Ring Fit, maybe not tonight. I've also got to do a lot more to get Ring Fit. Like I got to go dig out the ring and the thing. I got to put my hair up.
you need two charged Joy Cons, not just one charged 3D,
Recharge. Yeah, exactly.
and they have to not have drift.
That too, which yeah. And I got to move a table out of the, it's a whole thing. This, I
Um,
just need to charge a DS for a little bit.
yeah, I'll just meet where you originally slapped it if you were happy with it there.
Where I originally slapped it?
No, not the, not.
Oh,
I
just
was in
now.
the
Got
hypno
it.
space, unless you wanted to go up a
All right.
little bit more.
No, because I'm with you. Like I don't. Yeah, no. This is good here. I knew I was high when I was coming in. You know what I mean? Like it was.
And I knew I was low. So low with
This
explanation.
is how you. It's how you do a list. Brain Age, the new number 38. Congratulations to Dr. Kawashima for making the list. Um, Type the full name of this game out. Are you still gonna play Brain Age after this?
The biggest hurdle is the 3DS and the physical element of the media because I think there's something else I'd rather. If I'm gonna have a 3DS game that I check in with nightly or whatever, I think there's something else that I now own that I'd rather do that with. That's more in my wheelhouse.
That's
Um,
fair.
and I think it's just gonna get harder for me to pick it back up as a potential new piece of hardware that is also portable comes out in the coming weeks.
Getting real stoked on that too, man.
Now, not to
So
say that I
stoked
won't ever
that.
revisit it, but
No, I'm
it's
with you.
not going to be. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
It's hard. Look, man, like I've spent a lot of time in the last few years getting all these handhelds and collecting stuff and swapping out batteries and like it's hard to maintain these things, period, but also to like keep them in rotation when there's just other stuff. It's a lot to do. Um, but yeah, I like Brain Age a lot though. I'm glad we got to play it in a, more formal capacity and review it, etc. Um, would you pick up a Brain Age that was tailored for the TV on Switch 2?
I'm not opposed to it because I've already kind of done that with the Wii. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see me. I don't know. I've been through this before, and like even at peak, just like favorite games, peak favorite games like Rocket League. Like there is I come in, I go out.
That's fair.
none of this stuff ever really like sticks with me like that.
Um, there is Big Brain Academy on Switch that is, I believe, getting a Switch 2 update to allow for download play. So tuck that one into your.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we'll see. Well, that is Brain Age. Next week, we're back not with a ranking episode, but with another check in to talk about spring into Animal Crossing as we bring spring to a close, at least in terms of the season of this podcast. Because next week is the end of May, and then it kicks off summer for us. And for us, we're kicking it off talking about E3, whatever that is.
The thing before it was called Summer Game Fest.
So they say. But we'll be back next week with that. And then we've got a whole summer of fun planned for you coming up between episodes 612 and 624. That's a hot quarter's worth of content for you. So come back, hang out with us next week. Tell a friend. Podcast at thefreecheese.com is the website, not the website, the email. And let us know as we're approaching summer. Are we supposed to be on Blue Sky yet? I have no interest, but if you're there and you want us to be there, do something, I guess. Freecheese.com. That's where we're at. It's the only place you need to be. Until then, you can, of course, find us on thefreecheese.com. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for hanging out. Viewer, for watching out. We'll see you next time. Bye.